Eagle News Canada. I'm Archie Rose Natividad Yi, coming to you from Vancouver in the province of British Columbia, Canada, bringing you news and commentary from across the country. Here are some of the stories we'll cover today. Health officials are optimistic over vaccine distribution across Canada. Pandemic prompts recent immigrants to leave Canada. Canada approves fourth COVID-19 vaccine. Ontario expands mental health supports for Indigenous peoples and communities. And in sports, Zion Williamson, Zach LaVine, Stephen Curry prepare for the NBA All-Star Game. Now over to our top stories. Health officials are optimistic over vaccine distribution across Canada. Canada has now topped over 887,000 cases of the COVID-19 virus. As the one-year anniversary of the pandemic nears in Canada, Dr. Teresa Tam, Chief Public Health Officer, remains optimistic over the vaccines distributed across Canada, sharing that, quote, as of March 5th, over 2.2 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines had been administered across Canada. Federal, provincial, and territorial authorities are working closely together to monitor vaccine safety following immunization with COVID-19 vaccines. To date, no unexpected vaccine safety issues have been identified. With mass vaccination programs underway, provinces are preparing to lift government lockdown restrictions. Starting today, the provinces of Ontario, Quebec, and New Brunswick will lift restrictions after maintaining a hold on stable or decreasing number of cases. In Ontario, the regions of Toronto, Peel, and North Bay will lift stay-at-home orders. Over in Quebec, almost all of the province will move from red zone to orange, with the exception of the following regions: Montreal, Laval, the Laurentians, Lanaudière, and Montérégie, which are all staying in the red zone. As for New Brunswick, it will transition to yellow alert, with residents being able to expand their contacts for up to 10 to 15 people, along with team sports activities now able to resume. Pandemic prompts recent immigrants to leave Canada. In other news, the economic and life disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic has prompted some recent immigrants to leave Canada and return to their countries of origin, where they have more social and family connections. The data show that the number of permanent residents who have been in Canada for 5 to 10 years have decreased by 24,000 from 2019 to 2020. According to Robert Falconer, a researcher at the University of Calgary School of Public Policy, quote, "It's actually not uncommon to have immigrants go back to their home country during the recessionary periods." He said many of those who have left in the past year might not come back if the economy does not recover quickly. A study by Statistics Canada released in August showed that in the early months of the pandemic, recent immigrants to Canada were more likely than Canadian-born workers to lose their jobs, mainly because they had held them for less time, and as a whole are overrepresented in lower wage employment, which includes in-service sector jobs. Falconer said the government should address problems with licensing and professional development that many newcomers face in Canada, as it is difficult for immigrants to work in the same profession in Canada as they did in their home country. The Canadian government has approved a fourth COVID-19 vaccine. Joining us is Eagle News correspondent Thomas I. Likeness with the details. Hello, Thomas.
Well, good evening, Archie Rose. You're right. Canada has added another weapon to its arsenal in the battle against COVID-19. Now, as the week ended, Prime Minister Trudeau told the country that Health Canada has approved the Janssen vaccine. That's the one made by Johnson & Johnson.
Be stored and This is a single-dose vaccine. It can be stored and transported at regular refrigerated temperatures from 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, which makes it easier to distribute across the country. As with all of the other vaccines we have secured, we're working to get doses to Canadians as quickly as possible.
Trudeau says the government has placed an order for 10 million doses of the inoculant. Now, Johnson & Johnson has until September to fill that order. The vaccine can be used on anyone over the age of 18, including seniors. Health Canada has been studying it since the end of November and says it is 66% effective in preventing symptomatic COVID-19 beginning 2 weeks after vaccination. Trudeau has reassured Canadians the government's still on track to immunize anyone who wants to be by the end of September, and he says he's quite certain there'll be enough medicine in the cupboard.
There are now 4 safe and effective vaccines approved by independent regulators in Canada. We have agreements with all 4 companies making these doses, and we also have agreements with 3 additional companies for their potential vaccines. Today, we also have some great news to share about Pfizer vaccine shipments. Pfizer has informed us that we are able to move up the delivery of 3.5 million doses from the summer into the next couple of months. Pfizer will be delivering an additional 1.5 million doses to Canada this March, moving deliveries ahead of schedule. We'll also be getting another 1 million doses ahead of schedule in both April and May.
The first doses of Johnson & Johnson are expected to arrive early next month. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Archie.
Thank you, Thomas. So please tell us, do you think Canadians will shop for a specific vaccine given the differences in effectiveness?
Oh, they'll probably try, but at this point, I don't think that's possible. We've got such a limited supply, so what you're offered is what you'll get. The only exception will be for seniors over 65. They will not be given the AstraZeneca vaccine, and that's because of a lack of clinical evidence, and that's in some provinces. But otherwise, what you're offered is what you get. Perhaps later on, when most of the population is vaccinated, there might be an opportunity for that. But keep in mind, where we're at right now, the best vaccine is the one you'll get because it'll offer you a degree of protection. Archie?
Now, despite the fact that, there is a collection of vaccines available to Canadians, what about the variants? Are the vaccines going to be effective against these?
Well, so far, the initial studies showing the vaccines that have been approved recognize the variants, but the effectiveness isn't as great. Now, researchers are tweaking the biochemistry to offer more protection against these highly contagious mutations. Something we might have in the future, booster shots, maybe kind of like upgrading your antivirus software on your computer. And some have suggested that COVID shots might become an annual thing, like the common flu shot. Still far too early to speculate on all of that. The important thing is to get immunized as quickly as possible so that you have some level of protection.
Well, thank you for that. Now, there has been conversations around vaccine passports. Will people have to prove they've been immunized against COVID-19 to travel internationally?
Well, right now they have to prove that they're negative, with the PCR test that many countries require them to take before they're allowed entry. But in a media report today, we heard Health Minister Patty Hajdu say vaccine passports are an ongoing discussion that she's had with her counterparts among the G7 countries. Personally, I think it's inevitable. After going through more than 12 months of pandemic, countries are going to want to stop that virus from hitching a ride across their borders. And there's still the question of whether vaccinated people could be asymptomatic carriers of the virus. In other words, you could be vaccinated, but you could still carry the virus, showing no symptoms yourself. You have the immunity, but you also act as a carrier. And there likely be some opposition from some saying you can't force me to have a vaccine. It's against my rights. That's true in this country. But remember, when you travel to another country, your Canadian rights do not apply. They don't apply at all. I think really, until there's an effective treatment for COVID, we're halfway there. We get the vaccine, but the other side of the coin is an effective treatment. I think until that day arrives, nations are going to be very cautious about who they're letting in. And for many countries, if you're not vaccinated, I suspect you're not going to be welcome. Archie?
Thank you for that, Thomas. Now, lastly, are you looking forward to getting vaccinated? As a Canadian, we have
I'm going to tell you something. I am looking forward to it. In 2 weeks, I can book my appointment. I've been under house arrest since the summer. By house arrest, not by the police. The warden here is my wife. The only difference, though, is I don't have to wear an ankle bracelet. I'm in that high-risk group, so I'm not allowed out of the house very much. And I'm so looking forward to getting vaccinated, and then I'll be able to wander around a little bit more. How about you, Archie?
Definitely looking forward to getting my vaccine as well, but we are definitely, I think across the board, everybody's just looking forward to being able to have that freedom once they've been immunized.
No doubt. Well, you take care, and thanks for having me on your show today.
Thanks for your report, Thomas. Ontario looks to expand mental health and addiction services for Indigenous peoples and communities across the country. Here's Eagle News correspondent Ashley Sakmar with the report.
On March 4th, officials from Ontario, Canada announced that the province will be investing $12.8 million to expand mental health and addiction services for Indigenous peoples and communities across the province. Ontario claims that the funding will go towards enhancing community-based mental health supports and services, as well as programs that focus on Indigenous children and youth. However, on March 3rd, Alvin Fiddler, Vaccination Grand Chief and member of the Muskrat Dam First Nation, released a statement addressed to Ontario Premier Doug Ford. This is in regards to the sudden closure of 26 youth justice facilities across the province. Many of the youths in these facilities are Indigenous. Take a listen. Like any other child, and as a matter of basic humanity, these children need to be as close as possible to their families and communities. Now we have children being shackled and flown to distant regions of the province without appropriate notice or transition planning, and without any regard to the long-term impact that this will have on them, their families, and their communities. This is nothing less than tragic and unacceptable. NDP critic for Indigenous and Treaty Relations Sol Mamakwa Kiwetnong also released a statement regarding the abrupt closure of the centers. Take a listen. The Ford government has once again demonstrated that it doesn't care about the lives of Indigenous youth and their families. This will make the child welfare to prison pipeline in our province even worse, and is another example of institutional anti-Indigenous racism and colonialism within the child welfare and youth justice systems. More young people will be put at risk, and this will do nothing to help them rebuild their lives with the support they need from their families and communities. As of Friday, March 5th, the Ontario government still has yet to respond to the aforementioned statements. In Toronto, Ashley Sakmar, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thanks, Ashley. There is more news to come. You're watching Eagle News Canada. Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News Canada. I'm Archie Rose Natividad Yi from Vancouver, British Columbia. We now go to Hawaii and join Eagle News correspondent Alfred Asenes of our EBC Hawaii Bureau as he takes his family in a drive-through vaccination and shares his first-hand experience of the process. Take a look.
Our journey to the vaccine actually began a couple of weeks prior by going online to set up an appointment, as walk-ins are not yet available at this time. On the day of our appointment, we drove up to the check-in point to make sure our names were on the list before proceeding further. So I'm taking my first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine today here in Central Oahu. We'll see how this works. And guess who else is with me? That's right. The rest of the team. So we'll see what happens after this. So the only way to find out the effects of this shot is to just go through the motion and figure it out for myself. So here we go.
Relax your arm for me.
All right, I gotta relax the arm, just like as if I were taking a flu shot. Nothing to it. Just just focus on my talking, and there you go. I'm done. One of two anyway. Thank you. Not surprisingly, some of us react differently to needles altogether.
How do you feel?
All right. I know, I just don't like shots.
I know, but you're not gonna feel any like.
Oh, no,
is that
Bandit?
done?
Do you want a bit?
Thank
Never mind
you.
then.
Here we go.
See, barely, right?
Yeah.
So we're approaching the front part of the waiting area after we took our first COVID-19 shots. If you see the smudge kind of on my windshield, it says 11:09. Actually, if you read it from the other side, that's the time we're allowed to drive off. That's the end of the 15-minute mark. Meanwhile, the rest of our team continue to do their part in protecting themselves against the virus. Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, Alfred Asenes, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
In sports, being an all-star is one of many goals that NBA players would love to accomplish. Zion Williamson and Zach LaVine will have that experience for the first time in Atlanta. Plus, Steph Curry and LeBron James will be teammates for the first time in their careers. Eagle News correspondent Tenny Sumagi joins us to talk more about the NBA All-Star Game. Hello, Tenny.
Hello, Archie. And we'll first start with the Pelicans' Zion Williamson and the Bulls' Zach LaVine. The forwards finally are all-stars and are ready to soak in the experience.
I think the best memories usually are, as a kid, who can make the most spectacular play. Stuff like that, because, it's an all-star game. But what is it going to be like playing with some of those guys that I watch? It's going to be dope. I'm going to take the experience in, enjoy it moment by moment. When I get a chance, I'm going to, nitpick at some of those older guys' mind on, like, how did their mind develop over, like, the course of their career? Like, what did they learn more? Because, I just like to ask questions like that.
That means a lot. It's an honor. Obviously, a lot of hard work goes into this, and when you finally break through it, you feel the love and the recognition. For my family, I think that's the main thing for me that's made me happy. Just to see a look on their face and to see how proud they are. That's more than worth it for me. And for the organization, I think it's great. Showing that we have another all-star in a place that's building something special, and that players want to be able to come here and show it. So I'm very happy for that.
Curry's back as an all-star and played for Team LeBron. The all-star guard shares how excited he is to play alongside the King for the first time in his career. Take a look.
Love to get that experience, having played against him for the last 12 years, and obviously in the finals and all that back and forth and all-star games and whatnot. So, it'll be dope to compete, go out here, try to get this win, represent Team LeBron. It's gonna be a pretty cool experience. We got a stacked team, and ready to go out there and just enjoy ourselves and get a brand new experience that me and him have never had before. Should be pretty.
We have final updates from Atlanta. Team LeBron dominates over Team Durant 170-150 with club forward Giannis Antetokounmpo taking the Kobe Bryant MVP award. Curry dominates over Mike Conley of the Jazz to take the three-point contest. Domantas Sabonis takes the Taco Skills Challenge, and Portland Trailblazers Anthony Simons takes the Slam Dunk Contest. In New York, Tenny Sumagi, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Archie.
Thank you, Tenny. Of course, it's amazing to hear some of these players having their dreams come true, playing along with their legends, their idols. We have a couple minutes here, Tenny. Tell us, who are your favorite All-Stars at the moment?
Okay, I'm going to categorize them, Archie. So let's start with the cutest.
I like that.
The cutest. That's got to go to Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavs. I mean, this guy will be the next All-Star. This guy mimics after LeBron James. So I believe that he's going to be the next superstar in the league to come. Let's see. I have to give props to my New York Knicks forward, Julius Randle, for making his first All-Star appearance, and he's just revived the New York Knicks basketball. So things at Madison Square Garden are looking pretty bright after how many years of laughter and failure with the New York Knicks. And let's go to we'll keep it in New York. How about the Brooklyn Nets? And you should like them, Archie, because Steve Nash is from British Columbia, their head coach. But now that they acquired former All-Star Blake Griffin, I truly believe now that they will win this year's NBA title. You can't go wrong with Durant, Kyrie, the Beard, and company. So I would say those are my favorites at the moment. And of course, Steph Curry. You can't go wrong with the Splash Brother. Glad to see him back in the All-Star game.
Yes, with Durant's team, it definitely sounds like a stacked team and really exciting things to look forward to. So thank you for joining us in the show today.
Thank you, Archie.
Well, that's our program for today. Join us again next week as we bring stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and on YouTube. Thank you for watching. I am Archie Rose, the TV Dad Yi. We live in interesting times.